Welcome back to Brashonomics. I'm Ben Brashen with a good friend of our show, Charlie Carter from HomeBridge Builders, founder of HomeBridge Builders, which is a Seattle-based custom builder and residential remodeler, specializing in additions, remodels, kitchens, baths, outdoor living. And Charlie, it sounds like you guys also specialize in a little bit when people are cluttered.
We do. We've been into several dozen homes, I would say, that, Katie, your previous guest, was talking about helping people move and downsize and tackling the hoarder situation. We've been to a few of those as well, where people want to add on, because that's going to fix their problem. And you walk in and you're immediately like, okay, yeah, you might need a little more room, but that's not your real issue here. And so then you have to delicately try and figure out how to help them through that. As Katie said, that impartial, non-judgmental type of thing to sort it out. And I've actually, my wife's a psychologist, and so I've actually brought her to a couple. I've asked, say, hey, can I bring my wife? She's really good at organizing, and which she is. And can we
organizing thoughts?
Well, no, just organizing as well. Very, very good at that. And she helps people with that a lot. Like friends, she's like, oh, your house is so neat. How do you do it? And so she actually goes and helps people do that. And so I'm like, well, she can come in and help us organize it, plus help them with letting go, because that's the biggest thing. She likes to watch the Hoarder Show, and what she tells me is, and she likes to watch the psychology of it, is that it's about the letting go, that it's okay to get rid of it, type of thing, and you can't just take it away from them. Mm-hmm. And her mom's got a little bit of that, so she's dealt with it, not really bad, but she's got a magazine from 1986 that she's sure there's a recipe in there she's gonna cook one day. She's like, Mom, you're not cooking this. We have to get rid of this magazine, and she.
I get it. I mean, I got ticket stubs from like 1986.
That's different, though. Those are worth keeping.
That's right. Okay.
They're probably framed at your house.
They are. In fact, the one ticket stub we do have framed is actually the only Seahawks game I have ever missed at Quest Field or Clank or before Seahawks Stadium, which was we were in the hospital with my son being born. It was a Cardinals game a couple of years ago, and so I kept that and framed it.
Very nice.
It's the only one
you've ever
not used. All the other ones are all crumpled up and have some beer on them.
That's right. Perfect.
So Charlie, when you go into somebody who is who has more stuff than just maybe ticket stubs and sports memorabilia, and even more than maybe just some extra recipes, where do you start? Because a lot of what you do is kind of helping people solve spatial issues, whether it's kitchen or closets or just storage in general, garages, additions.
Well, it doesn't tend to start there. That we tend to kind of evolve into that. It's like we need more room, we need an addition, we need to remodel our kitchen, and so we start at the high level, the standard thing. Okay, what are the issues? What are the problems we're trying to fix with your house, or specifically with an area of your house that's not working for you well? And then we kind of work our way down to the details and get into the meat of it. And a lot of times, particularly for families, one of the most common things that they have a huge problem with is what I call that transition or buffer space, is the mudroom, the utility room, the space between the garage and the house, where the coats and the boots and the backpacks and all of that kind of thing want to go. And if you don't have one of those spaces or have one that works very well, all that spills into the kitchen or into the family room or wherever you walk in, and all that just spills out in there. And that becomes a huge source of clutter. And then it seems like once it kind of gets going, it's hard to sort of tame that tiger. And if you can stop it at the source, then you can help them maintain some order, and then they just feel so much better. So figure out what the real issue is and then solve it. It's like one time we did a project where we added a transition space, mudroom really, into a garage. We expanded. The garage was big enough that we could take some space out of the garage and made it an interior finished space. Gave them, and we've done it several dozen times probably, what we call the locker room setup with cabinetry, where each person in the family has their own little cubby. They have a bench there that they share. They have places for boots and hanging jackets. The starting lineup, back to football, of the jackets go right there, and then a closet for the backups, and then baskets up above for the hats and gloves and scarves and things like that, so they all stay organized and a place to put everything. And it makes a big difference. And it can be the kitchen. It can be the pantry stuff. A term like your quote that you've got, I have one that I claim is the Costcoification of America, is all these giant 900 rolls of toilet paper. Where do we put that stuff? Everyone wants to buy it, but where do we put it? The paper towel. And so thinking in that bulk storage as well for a pantry or whatever is the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you end up with 400 rolls of toilet paper. I mean, I have 3 ketchups, like that's the big Costco sized ketchup. So now they're sitting like on top of our our freezer in the garage. And I'm sure they're expired by now because our family does not use that much ketchup. But that's But there is that. It kind of comes down to finding a place for it, whether you're building out, redesigning a room in some ways to be more organized, or in some cases, like if it's an extra child being born,
right,
or a parent moving in.
Ooh,
you may need a lot more than just, designing a mudroom. That's where you maybe get into the bigger additions.
Doing an addition, the ADU, accessory dwelling unit, kind of creating that mother-in-law suite, if you will, very common. Talk to a lot of people about that. They always want to look at it as an option. What's the upside? What's the downside? And we build maybe half of them, and then others decide that moving her someplace else for a myriad of reasons is the better way to go, which is fine. We don't expect to build everything that we draw. We want help to people to get the right thing for them, and so we look at that a lot. But the addition is a big thing to add that storage, and garage organizing is huge. Take that garage and organize it and make it a place that is a working space for you, that's not so messy that you just start shoving things, and that's when it gets out of control. But if you clean it up, you organize it, you make it brighter, cleaner. We put the flex stuff down on the floor. It's really not that expensive. Put the Gladiator system in.
The what?
The Gladiator garage system.
Gladiator system?
It's a line of garage storage, cabinetry type stuff. That is manufactured specifically for garages, and it's called Gladiator, and it's hardcore, and it's got all kinds of
American Gladiators.
Yeah, exactly. It's got maple tops and tools and slat walls and rolling chest and drawers and things like that, just to organize the garage. And then the sports equipment storage stuff they have is fantastic too.
When we look at like garages and things of that nature, I mean, do people add on garages? Is that something that you see very often? Where
we don't typically. It's not that we need to add on. It's not the essence of the project. It is typically a nice benefit. If we're doing this, we might as well get that extra, kind of space. It makes sense. It's easy to do. It's not that expensive of space. It's because there's not a lot going on inside of it, like a kitchen addition is. So if it makes sense, but they don't typically call and say, I want to add on to a garage. They say, we want to do this.
I have a third car I really need to put in there.
Well, most of the time, that's a separate building.
Right.
Is when it's really garage centric. Is that what we're doing? It's just easier to build it as a freestanding.
Yeah.
The Ferraris and whatnot.
Right. Because everybody needs a Ferrari and an extra garage for their Ferrari.
Done more than one.
I want to be hanging out with your friends. Charlie, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. Again, Charlie Carter with HomeBridge Builders, custom building and remodeling. When we come back, all of our in-studio guests will join us along with Heather Moore. We'll be right back after this break.